Okay, so I'm recording this from my phone because I really don't feel like getting on PlayStation. But I just decided to make this video because it's not a response to Hamada's video, but it had me like really think about some stuff concerning like how people continuously and just kind of illogically compare people from different, I guess you could say, eras. Now concerning Hamada's video, I mean, it's all right. Like, we as people can disagree in a civil manner without getting ahead of ourselves or without bashing on the other person and using ad hominems in our discussions or arguments. And so in his opinion, he thinks Bowman is the best. Okay, that's all right. That doesn't affect me. It's not the end of the world. People can disagree. The end of the world is happening outside. That's the end of the world. What's happening as far as Xenoverse is concerned, it's not anything strenuous because first off, I don't play anymore. I have better things to do. I'm more involved in my kinesiology, advancing my kinesiology knowledge because that's what I'm going to college for. I'm more into working out nowadays, and I was before, but I'm just really into it now, like really learning the science behind it. So concerning all that, it doesn't really concern me. Because everybody had their era, you know. Zombie King had their era, Dino had their era, I had mine, and then Bowman had his, and I guess this is the quote-unquote reign of Hamada, if you want to call it that. Either way, but this is going to be more like a podcast type video. It's just going to have like a still picture, maybe one or two or three, whatever. I don't feel like getting on my PlayStation to actually put a video in the background. I'm probably not going to put music. I have no idea. But concerning the methodology of people, and I took psychology, statistics in college, and I'm going to apply some things, the logic behind like research and doing analysis. I'm going to apply it to how people do their stuff in Xenoverse, and I really want you to understand how, and again, this is not a response to Hamada or anything. I'm just saying in general, and this is not only concerning Xenoverse, but again, like with all my videos, I want you to take the concepts that I'm explaining through Xenoverse and apply it to a regular day life. I'm just using Xenoverse as an analogy. That's the only reason why I'm making this video, is because I feel like what the logic that I can explain is applicable in real life. As far as Xenoverse is concerned, I don't even play the game anymore. So I'm just using that as a tool to further enhance people's ability to think rationally and come to truth, the absolute truth. And so I understand the general methodology of, oh, this person can beat this person because this person beat that person, or such and such, or I fought this person during this time, so this person must be better because I fought this person at this time. Let me tell you something. That logic, it is illogical. That methodology, it is illogical. Not because there isn't correlations to certain things. I'd actually say there is no correlation. Even if there was a correlation doesn't mean causation. That's like the first rule of not only research but also logic. But I don't really consider the methodology of comparing this person and that person as having any sort of correlation whatsoever, simply because of this. Okay, so you have two people. Let's just use this for an example. Zombie King, whenever he played the game, like consistently, and let's say, I don't know, I guess you could say Hamada, or let's say Jip that plays now, since he plays every day, and you had Zombie King who played during that time, you know. To compare Zombie King, like to try to say Zombie King can just come back and be the same as he was before, and say, oh, and what is their reasoning behind this argument? It's because people who make this argument believe that Xenoverse takes no skill, or like you can't lose muscle memory. Well, let me tell you, you can lose muscle memory in Xenoverse. Like, just because something doesn't take that much skill, you cannot extinguish the fact that it does take skill. Just because something is little does not mean you just wipe it from existence. Minusculity, I guess if you can say that it's a word, or minutenity, does not equal non-existence. Because ants are very small, yet we still acknowledge their existence. And so I'll use this as an example for like skill. Okay, so it takes skill, it takes some sort of muscle memory to actually talk, to actually eat, to actually walk. Let me tell you this, if you don't walk for 2-3 years straight, even though you can do it easily, like very, very easy, like you don't have to think about walking, you just do it. Once you learned it, you got it. You learned it at 2, however old you was. But let me tell you, if you forget, like if you don't walk for like 2 years in a row, like don't get out your bed, not at all. Don't move your legs, don't do nothing. Let me tell you something. Your body will take some time to try to remember how to walk, simply because that's how the nervous system works. That's how biology works. That's how neurology works. That's how the brain works. When you fail to repeat a process or an action or an activity over and over again, or at least to every now and then stimulate that, I guess you could say, connection that the neurons and the synapses have with the brain, if you just forget about that skill, that particular skill, your brain will disconnect that connection simply to make room for other things that you're actually using, which it deems more important. And of course, I learned this because I'm a kinesiology major. I have to learn these things about the body and stuff. And so the argument that, oh, you can just get on Xenoverse and be as good as you was back then, it is completely, to quote Phoenix, it is completely phallus. It is fallacious. It is illogical. It is not based on reality. It is delusional, because that's not how reality works with anything. With something as basic as walking or eating or talking, or even like other basic functions, that is not how it works. If you don't do it for a long time, you will forget how to do it. You will be very inefficient at it, and you will not be as good as before. You have to work your way up to that, however long that is. And so to think that if that happens with talking and walking, something you've been doing, and eating, if that's something you've been doing for like almost all of your life, since you were freaking 2, and let's say you're 17 years old, you've been doing that for 15 years every day. You're so good at it, it's autonomous. You don't even think about it. There's 3 stages to learning, and you're at the autonomous stage. That's the point to where you don't even have to think about doing it. Like when you've been driving for a while, you don't have to think about driving. You don't have to think about eating or walking. You just do it because you're that efficient at it. And to think that, let me tell you, playing Xenoverse, or really any game, is more complex than walking. It is more complex because it requires much more energy. It requires much more thinking. You don't have to think about walking again, but you do have to think about certain things in Xenoverse. And that's for any game, no matter how simplistic it is. It could be Monopoly, it could be Uno, it could be Uno, but you can still forget things. You can still forget certain things about it, especially after a long time. People forget things. That's how memory works. That's how learning works. When you fail to repeat the stimulus or to repeat the activity, that connection gets dropped. Like it gets dropped off. The brain is like, this is not important. You got to get dropped off. There's more important things that I need, since the brain is limited. There's more important things that it needs. And if you don't do anything about, if you stop doing a certain activity, then the brain is like, well, this isn't important anymore. So I just wanted to scientifically negate and really debunk that argument, because I just find it very, again, illogical. It doesn't have a basis in reality. I find it very delusional. And to try to, you really can't argue this, because it's not, first off, it's not scientific. It's not scientific. It's not logical. It's not philosophically sound. It's not philosophically founded. And really, people who say this, they either haven't really thought about it. They fail to see the logic in other areas. Like, your logic and methodology has to be consistent with reality. You cannot apply this logic to anything else. They'll look at you dumb. People that actually do this stuff, that work with the brain, they'll look at you dumb. They'll look at you stupid because they know better. And only the people that believe you who do this, they don't really know any better. They don't know any better more than you. And whether you're doing it on purpose, doing it just to get on someone's nerves, or you really just don't, or you really lack wisdom, I could say. And maybe you do know this, but you fail to apply it. I don't know. I don't know people's mind or heart. That's not for me to do. That's God. However, going to the second thing I want to talk about, this methodology of comparing two people in different eras, for the lack of a better word, like Zombie King when he played, and then Hamada or Jip, or Bowman whenever he had his quote unquote reign. You cannot do that. And this is where I was going before I derailed into that tangent, I guess you could call it. You cannot compare Zombie King from 3 years ago, to Bowman whenever he was really playing and really was somewhat considered top tier or whatever. You cannot compare the two simply because they are variables. These two people, they are variables, and they change. They are unconstant. That's what people are. People change every day. And to think that two people, or one or the other, would fight the same when he comes back, or fight the same, even, let's say you had a time machine and you could bring that Bowman to fight that Zombie King, or bring that Zombie King to fight that Bowman. It doesn't matter what achievements each one had or how fast they are, because people adapt. People get better. People change. These variables are unconstant. They don't stay the same. Not at all. That happens you're evidence of that. You change every day. You change your mind every day. That's simple evidence. People watching this video, I may have influenced to change their mind on some things. Right there. That is evidence right there that you change your mind. And so trying to compare two unconstant variables that is very subject to change is illogical. It is not accurate. It is not a good way to perform whenever you're comparing two people, who's better or this person, it's really a mini experiment. And whenever you do that, whenever you try to run an experiment like that, it will fail because it will not be accurate. You'll always get different results, And as far as the second reason why that methodology is not accurate is the second part, or I guess you could say the third part of all this, is the fact that the game is different. The game was not the same from the beta, from the beginning of the game to what it is now. Back in the beginning, you couldn't even use Ki Blast moves. Now you can use whatever move. Some moves didn't even do damage in the beginning. Now every move do damage in the beginning. You can literally just use buttons, just X and Y, and you'll do more damage than some certain moves would have done at the beginning of the game. And so, considering this factor, because that zombie and that Bowman, they are two unconstant variables within a bigger variable, and that is the game of Xenoverse. And the game of Xenoverse is unconstant in itself because it constantly changes. It has updates and whatnot. And that's why the game is not the same as it was when Zombie played as it is when Bowman played. And so you have these two unconstant variables in the middle, enveloped in another unconstant variable, a bigger unconstant variable. And let's say hypothetically, the variables of Zombie and Bowman were constant. What if they were? Well, it wouldn't matter because they dwell in the midst of an unconstant variable. And by definition, since that variable is unconstant, that's going to have an effect on Bowman and Zombie King. They're not going to be constant because that's not how humans work. That's not how people work. So just the fact that they play Xenoverse and the game constantly updates, and the fact that they're human, the fact that they're human means all of that is unconstant. So you cannot compare this person from this generation and this one from that one. That's why when people try to do that with boxers, like, oh, this person was the best boxer, this person was the best boxer. It doesn't matter. There's too many factors to consider. Different weight classes, which makes a big difference. Doesn't matter how good you are. If you're 130 pounds trying to fight a 200-pound person, it doesn't matter if that 200-pound person is Mike Tyson or Butterbean. You are a lose because you can't hurt him. And he can do everything in his power to hurt you easily, very easily. And so that's like that logic is like, oh, I can punch a lion in the head and the lion will get a concussion. Like, the lion weighs a lot of pounds. I don't know how many hundreds of pounds, but he weighs a lot. Your punch isn't going to do nothing no matter how strong you are. Like, when you punch a water bottle, it will not have the same effect when you punch a wall, because that wall has a lot more force behind it than a water bottle. Just saying. But dang, I forgot my point. I'm just kind of going on here. So continuing on where I left off, that's why even professional boxing analysts, Max Kellerman and whoever else, they don't try to really compare. They have opinions, but they can't really compare. Like, what are you going to use to compare? The weight classes, the records, like their records, like their titles, if they won any titles, like, because there were different variables and factors in those people's lives, like different fighters, different all that. And so the same logic applies to trying to compare Xenoverse people, and how I see it with this whole topic of, because I mean, it's been a thing from the beginning, ever since Xenoverse 1. Like, again, like what I said, like, it doesn't matter if someone thinks I'm the best or not. Like, that doesn't matter to me, because my job here is I'm in a position to try to teach people how to think better and not go around with this frail logic, this in a sense it is immature, sometimes willingly, sometimes unwillingly. It is very unwise. It is foolish, because the people who apply this logic to Xenoverse doesn't apply to anything else. And I'm like, let your methodology be consistent. And if it's consistent, you will see that it doesn't match up to reality, just with the evidence that I presented. So again, this isn't a response to Hamada's video. Again, I'll reiterate that. It's just something that I realized that people do. You know, people have their opinion. You know, people think this person's the best. I mean, some people think Rhyme Style and C-Reacts is the best. So I'm like, if that's their opinion, that's their opinion. They have limited knowledge. They don't know every single person in the game. They're basing that their opinion of whoever's the best in the game, C-Reacts, Rhyme Style, whoever, their opinion of that is based off their either lack of knowledge or their interpretation. And that's with anything. If someone thinks I'm the best, it could be due to lack of knowledge, their lack of the knowledge of all the other people who play the game. And once they acquire that knowledge, then they can come to a either different conclusion or the same conclusion. Regardless of the matter, regardless of what they choose, it will be based off their interpretation of that collection and data of knowledge that they have accumulated over time. And so it's all opinion. It's all and again, it's no problem with having an opinion, just as long as you have a logical reason to back it up. You have no evidence, no knowledge, no nothing. Like, look, that's just very bad, and you don't want to go around life like that, because you'll get tossed to and fro from everything. Like, this person say this, like, you see it in the news. They're like, wear a mask, don't wear a mask. And they're like, come on, man, make your mind up. But really, but that's just my thoughts on it. That's just what I wanted to say. Like, it's all opinion, it's all interpretation of knowledge and how much they know, and it's very limited. And yeah, this person, how I think about the whole who's the best issue is there were best people in different eras, just kind of like how they were in boxing. Like, Mike Tyson was the best in his time, then Muhammad Ali, and then Floyd Mayweather, and Canelo Alvarez. Like, that's just how I look at it. Like, Dino was the best in one era, then Zombie King, or whether him and Dino shared that, I don't know. And then, you know, I'm not gonna call myself anything. You know, you had Bowman, you had Hamada, and you had whoever else. Blue Wolf even had a time that he was exalting himself, you know, and I don't want to do that. If I'm gonna be called the best, I don't want to call myself the best. I changed my mind on that. So if anybody wants to call me the best, that's on them. That's their opinion. They can think Rhyme Style is the best. They can think a random is the best. It doesn't matter. They can think Burko is the best. It doesn't matter. It's all based on opinion and whatnot. As long as the logic behind it is founded on really just logic founded on itself, then, you know, it's fine. But just wanted to make this video. I guess you can call it a rant. I wouldn't call it that. Just dropping knowledge and wisdom. But yeah, have a good one. And this video, of course, give my credit to my Lord Jesus. And yeah, have a good day.